This SoonerScoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. If you're ready to see the rest of the world just as clearly, get your fresh perspective at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop Lasix.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya here from the SoonerScoop.com studios. Welcome back to the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. Day one in the books. Oklahoma, first practice of the preseason underway on Thursday morning. And I think here as the afternoon goes on, there's some videos already circulating. You've put up some notes on the Crimson Corner from day one for the Oklahoma Sooners. We're going to take everything from the media day that they had on Wednesday. You can see the Brent Venables breakdown here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. This is going to be offense only. We'll have the defense coming up on Friday morning. We're going to be out at practice Friday morning as well. George, welcome in. Hello. Happy football season to you, preseason.
Yeah, this is a great time of year. I love the all the content that the team puts out in terms of some of the videos because the fans get to freak out. Because
I've been told it's a lot of AI though. That's the problem.
It could be AI. I would believe that, but we already got some freak out because it looked like John Mateer maybe threw an interception. Kip Lewis got it. And then 30 minutes later, OU puts out a clip of John Mateer throwing a touchdown pass to Deion Burks. So
this is the good thing to have, though, because you could say if you throw an interception, what a play by Kip Lewis. This is what a great defense this is. Reversely, 30 minutes later, you can go back and say that this is one of the best offenses in the country.
It's that time of year. But if you really want all the good intel, sign up for Sooner Scoop. $1, because I already put up more notes than obviously just the videos that came out.
We got to give them something, though. One thing that maybe stood out that you would like to discuss here today from the day one first practice.
Gentry Williams was out there, and it was a full participant.
Okay,
so
good.
That's great news.
We obviously knew about Eli Bowen. He's not going to be available here during the early portions. There's a couple other guys. You can check out the Crimson Quarter to see who was not out there today. But overall, it doesn't seem like there's a big concern for anybody missing like the first couple of games outside of maybe a Javonte Gibson, obviously, who's still coming back. Or Jaden Gibson, who's still coming back from their injuries a year ago.
But everybody else, it seems like it's not too serious, but there's definitely maybe some names that would surprise a few people, so make sure you check that out.
We talked to Jaydn Ott on Wednesday for the first time since he arrived in Norman, as well as Ben Arbuckle talking about the offense. You can see the entire Ben Arbuckle press conference, as well as the Brent Venables press conference here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. Jacob Sexton, as well as Troy Everett. Offensive line's going to be big for Oklahoma. I know we talked about that on the Unofficial 40 today with Josh McCuistion and Kerry Murdoch as well. You can hear that on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel or all your listening podcast devices. Before we get to all the offense stuff, before we talk about Jaydn Ott, who I think is certainly bringing his own stardom into that backfield alongside John Mateer, let us tell you about our good friends over at Poncho Outdoors. I've ordered my stuff. Josh said that he has his stuff coming in the mail. Very comfortable. It's right out of the box. It's it's one of those things that you just want. As you can see here on the screen, I like some of this stuff on the original, the Western. A lot of different types that you can go and get, and all you got to do, Kerry Murdoch said he bought the Anchoa. It's a good looking shirt. I think I might have put that into my cart as well.
Wow, you guys can be
matching. We could be I was going to say Twinkies, and then people are going to take that out of context. Neither here nor there. All you got to do is go to PonchoOutdoors.com/SoonerScoop for $10 off your first order. That is PONCHO Outdoors.com/SoonerScoop for $10 off and free shipping. Go try one out today. And, this is the time of the year where there's a lot of sun out. They have the UPF 50 sunscreen protection in the material, which is extremely soft as well. The hidden zipper pocket as well. You can put your phone if you need to. So go check out our good friends over at PonchoOutdoors.com/SoonerScoop. All right, let's get into it because I think that it was the first time that we had talked to Jaydn Ott since he arrived. And I think the first thing that you got to say is, and I think that everybody probably saw, if you're watching this, I'm sure that you're following DeMarco Murray on Twitter. You saw how big he is. A little bit bigger than I thought he was going to be, but certainly an interesting road to get to Norman, picking Oklahoma over Georgia.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I know you didn't know that either. And to hear him kind of explain it, I thought was interesting. I won't spoil the clip, but it's pretty obvious why he wanted to be at OU, and I think it has a lot to do with some of the players he gets to be around.
Certainly an affinity for John Mateer, as well as working with Ben Arbuckle in this first-year offensive coordinator's system here in Norman. But here is Jaydn Ott talking about his road to Norman and wanting to play with John Mateer.
So going into spring last year, I decided to thug it out, see if it was the right spot for me at Cal. Had a good spring, but I just felt like it was time to move on. Had a good time at Cal, good experience, and I just really wanted to grow as a player. So I decided to take a look at some other schools, some other options, and enter the portal. And I really kind of had my mind made up. It was between here and Georgia. So, I talked to the coaches once I was in the portal, and it went down fairly quickly. Just felt like a good spot for me here.
What stood out about OU during that process? Why was it OU over Georgia?
Getting to play with John Mateer. I think they have something good going on. This offense is very familiar. I played against Arbuckle and his offense at Wazoo when I was at Cal, and so I was just familiar with what he has going on, and so I thought it was a good place.
For those who haven't seen you play, what's your style? What's your running style? What do you like?
My style, man, I just like to get in the open space, man. And once I see that green, like I get to high stepping. Love to run the ball and then also get out wide. I feel like Arbuckle's implementing a couple things into the playbook this year to get me lined up at slot and wide out. So that'll be fun.
What's been your relationship like with DeMarco so far?
Yeah, the relationship with DeMarco's been good. It's really like an honor to play underneath him, and learn so much. I'm just picking his brain as much as I can every day and really taking everything he says and trying to implement those things into my game.
George, I know it was something that we had talked about, when he basically committed out of the portal. It was something that we talked about yesterday, though, after the press conference, was just the fact that it does seem that they're going to be able to move him all around. And that was something that they presented to Jaydn Ott when they met. He talked about meeting with John Mateer on Zoom, going over what Ben Arbuckle wants to do with him in the system. And it's going to be kind of exciting to see how he kind of fits in with Oklahoma.
I think they're going to get him the ball in all sorts of ways. And we've kind of said that about somebody like a Deion Burks. I think that's going to be the case too. But this is somebody in Jaydn Ott that's very dynamic. He's not just a one-trick pony when it comes to being a running back. He can do a lot of different things. Oklahoma wants to get him the football. They want to run the football. And it's going to be really difficult for defenses to try and to defend both Ott in the run game as well as Mateer. And I think that kind of played a part in Ott's decision. Is he knows the running threat that Mateer can be and that he can also get him the ball through the air. So it makes a lot of sense from Ott's perspective. It also sounded like he's healthy.
Sure.
I don't know if we have that clip lined up on here, but I know he was battling the ankle injury. He's good to go. He was at camp today running with the ones. So I think the expectations are rightfully high for him right now.
Hear a little bit more from Jaydn Ott talking about familiarizing himself with Oklahoma fans, just in terms of who he looked up to as a running back growing up through the ranks, and then obviously has a unique relationship with a former Cal Bear that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, running backs I looked up to growing up were Barry Sanders, but more during my time, Adrian Peterson and Marshawn Lynch. Yeah.
Did you ever get to spend any time around Marshawn when you were at Cal?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with him. He was very helpful with me at Cal. Sometimes I sit down with him after a game and, watch film and hang out with him when I'll go to Vegas. He's great. He's a great mentor. I still talk to him to this day and, just pick his brain as well.
What's the biggest piece of advice or lesson that you've been able to take away from him?
You know him, he's real. And so he's just always said some real stuff like, you've heard that one interview run through in my face. So, yeah.
This is a public, I guess not plea, but ask if Marshawn Lynch ever wants to come on the program. We have medical marijuana in Oklahoma. He's more than welcome to come through to watch Jaydn Ott if he wants to in Norman. Certainly, though, exciting. It looks like that running back group is going to be really good. A lot of it's going to be contingent upon what you get out of the offensive line. That's something that we've talked about, I think probably ad nauseum since the end of the season last year, the way that everything ended, the 50 sacks that Oklahoma gave up, and maybe more than anything, when Ben Arbuckle was talking about getting some guys' confidence built back up, he's talking about a lot of these offensive linemen as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that to me is the biggest question mark for this group because I like the skill guys, right? Like I think that they got some gems in the portal. I think they've got some talented freshmen at wide receiver, running back. You love what they got in quarterback in John Mateer. I'm a believer in him. But the offensive line, it's like, okay, what are they going to look like? Because that was arguably the worst unit a year ago. And you have a lot of those guys back. They got some really good experience. You brought in some really good talent. So I think building up that confidence, this fall is huge for them. I think they had a pretty solid spring, stayed healthy.
I was going to say, maybe more than anything, and we'll hear from Jacob Sexton here in a second, as well as Troy Everett. Both of those guys, they've battled their fair share. Maybe Sexton a little bit more so than Everett and the way that he missed spring and then obviously the beginning of the season. But they go into this thing healthy with a number of bodies available.
Yeah, and I think last year they went into spring or into fall and they didn't have, not everybody was healthy. They got injured quick and they didn't have the depth. Whereas this year, if obviously you don't want to lose anybody, but if OU were to lose a couple guys on the offensive line, you kind of look down the line and say, well, we have some talent. We have some talent. We have some depth. We have some experience. We have guys that 3 guys from the portal that were all starters at their previous school. You have Michael Fasusi, which we'll see where he ends up if he ends up starting for Oklahoma this year as a true freshman. But you have to feel on paper pretty good about this group.
Here is Jacob Sexton as well as Troy Everett talking about the offensive line going into the season.
How'd it feel being in year number 4?
It's crazy. I mean, it's like a snap of a finger, and I'm here. So it's really insane to me because it feels like maybe 6 months I've been here, which is just crazy. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I've really enjoyed my time.
How comfortable or how healthy do you feel going into this game?
It's the best I've ever felt. Going into this season, I've never felt better. So legs feel amazing, upper body, everything. I feel stronger, faster. I feel comfortable with my weight. Everything's been great.
Is it a process to try to trust that, or when you have those injuries, do you ever start to have those doubts creep in, or what's that process like?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be some doubt that tries to creep in, but you just got to push it out. I mean, there's no room for it. There's so much more things to have on your plate and to be worried about than doubt. I mean, there's no room for it here. So, all of our guys are prepared for this year.
Yeah, and I think last year that was just. I don't even really count that because, that was just so many freak things. Like, obviously you could have on paper the perfect starting lineup that you want, but in reality, stuff happens. And so you get in there, and I think this year, everyone, I'm scared. I don't even want to really talk about it. But
third time.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful. And so I think if everything keeps going the way it is, I think it'll be exciting. I think regardless of whoever the starting 5 is when they go out there, I think Coach B's done this. I mean, this is my 3rd year now, and I've always seen it. He's going to rotate guys. There's going to be guys that maybe they aren't starting, but they deserve to play, or they've earned the right to play. And so I think you're going to see different guys play regardless of who's the starting 5.
It's huge, very important. Lots of guys got hurt last year, and so a lot of preventive rehab kind of stuff, prehab, this offseason, and lots of guys just kind of taking that under their wing. It's been great.
How does that affect y'all gelling, getting game time together, having the same 5 week in, week out?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, just the mesh that guys have together and kind of that bond, knowing that the guy next to you is going to do everything he can to help you and you help him. So it's huge.
And what are some of the ways that fans are going to be able to see the improvement?
Physicality, that's going to be a huge part of it. I felt like we weren't necessarily as physical as we could have been last year, and so this year it's going to be different.
Jacob Sexton seems to be one of those guys that, obviously he's had some bad luck over the last couple of years, obviously getting hurt at the end of the 23 season. Last year he gets hurt 8 games in down in Oxford. Certainly, we've talked so much about Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje and the transfers that are coming in. It seems like there are a good number of guys coming back, as we've discussed, that have a lot of experience playing in Norman.
I mean, Jacob Sexton's played a ton, and he's battled those injuries, but he's somebody that is versatile. He can play guard or tackle. He did tell me yesterday that he'd prefer to play tackle. I think that's where he's starting right now in fall camp, is at left tackle, which he was a really good tackle before he got hurt. He was arguably Oklahoma's best offensive lineman last year before he went down in the Ole Miss game. So I'm excited to see what he can do. But like you mentioned, guys like Logan Hallen, Heath Ozida, two guys that played a ton last year. Troy Everett was the starting center the back half of the season. And that's kind of when the offensive line, again, they weren't great, but they started to make at least some improvement. You have to be excited about those guys. I just, it's hard not to be pumped up for somebody like Michael Fasusi and what he can do, what he can bring to this group.
No doubt about it. Here is, for a little bit more on the offensive line, Ben Arbuckle as well as Sexton and Everett, talking a little bit more about this unit going into the season.
Whenever I got here, it was really, really hard to just sit there and kind of get an opinion of them because there were so many different, offensive lines that they had to play with last year. So you had to pretty much take it on an individual basis, watch kids individually on the film and not necessarily see what the whole collective was doing. Whenever I watched that film, I saw really, really good athletes who played hard. I mean, those guys play unbelievably hard. And whenever we got into the spring, that matched up. And the awesome thing about the spring was we stayed pretty dang healthy through the entirety of it. And so then you really got to kind of see a mold of what it could be going into fall start forming, and that was exciting. And then watching those guys not just build on it, but take it to a whole nother level this summer with their separate film studies. The offensive line watched more film together this summer than probably any position group in the building. I don't know that for a fact, but I feel really confident in saying that. They were up there constantly. And just seeing that and watching them, because that's the biggest thing about that position group, is getting on the same page and watching them dive head first into getting on the same page. It made me excited as a coordinator. It made me want to work harder for those guys. Like, okay, these guys are putting in the work. All right, I just want to work harder now for them because they deserve it. And so I'm excited going into fall camp about that group. I think Coach Biedenbow is the absolute best, and I think he's done a great job of getting their mindset where it needs to be heading into fall camp.
I think it helps a lot. And I mean, we watched a lot last year, but I think, like I was saying earlier, I think it's easier now because we saw what didn't work last year. Okay, this works this year, blah, 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 blah. Like, there was what you just learned from your mistakes. And so now we know, okay, maybe this worked out better, maybe this. And it was more enjoyable when guys came in there and they really just bought into it. Like, when I would be in there running the meetings, it was still like Coach B was in there. Like, everyone was buying in like this was a real position meeting that we had.
You have a really talented freshman offensive lineman in Michael Fasusi.
Mm-hmm.
What does he need to show you, in fall camp early in the season that you can rely on him, you can trust a young guy like that to potentially play or start for you guys?
Yeah, Michael's going to have a lot of opportunities to grow this fall camp. And with young guys, that's the biggest thing because physically he looks great. He's an unbelievable athlete, and he's a great kid. But, whenever you're that young and you step into this college game, just getting those reps and building that mental fortitude, especially at the offensive line position, that's the most important thing. So the biggest thing for him is going to be the reps that he gets this fall camp and how he maximizes those reps and how he learns from maybe something that bad that happened on a play or something that really good that happened on a play. But that's going to be the biggest thing for him is ultimately building up that mental fortitude because he's a great kid, he's a great player, and he's really talented.
Yeah, these freshmen that came in, they were ready to work. As soon as they got here, they attacked the weight room. They're fast, smart guys. So as soon as they got here, they were prepared for that. And they've just been working hard, man, everyone in here. Freshman class has been great. They're a lot of fun guys, so, man, it's been awesome.
Brent Venables talked about the number of position battles that are going to be going down here over the next 30-something days leading up to the August 30th opener. It seems like offensive line, there's guys that are coming back as incumbents, right? But everybody, it seems like, is going to be pushed up there up front. Another position where it's almost like, and we'll hear from Ben Arbuckle here in a second, talking about the tight end position, just somebody jump up and take it. That seems to be the case there when you're talking about Will Huggins and Carson Kent coming in. John Locke obviously came in during the spring, as well as the guys that are returning when you're talking about Caden Helms or Cade McIntyre. It's going to be mighty interesting to see what happens with Joe John Finley's group.
I mean, unlike the offensive line where you have some guys where you're like, oh, I could pencil them in there, or you think what might play out there, tight end is wide open. I mean, I have no idea who's going to end up starting in that group. I think Will Huggins and Carson Kitt were maybe leading the pack back in the spring. Jaden Kn had a really good spring moving over from linebacker. We didn't hear much about Caden Helms or Cade McIntyre. We heard a lot about Caden Helms throughout the summer. Maybe he can be somebody that can finally find his groove after all the injuries. McIntyre's been dealing with injuries. I don't think he really was a participant much in practice today because he's still kind of battling some injury stuff. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But that group, Eddie, I know a lot of people out there don't want to talk about it, think they're not going to be any good, but I do think it's fascinating. How are they going to end up using that group? Is Ben Arbuckle going to play a lot of tight end sets? I think he wants to if they have some guys that can help him. I just don't exactly know who that's going to be, and that's not because the group's just terrible. I think it's more we just don't know.
And I think that you kind of said it though, like how they use him is one of the bigger issues yet last year than the outright talent, because I think that everybody's been on the record of how they felt about Bauer Sharp one way or the other. You're on one side of the fence or the other. Here is Ben Arbuckle talking about the tight end unit going into the season.
That group's had a lot of development. I mean, a lot of it. And Coach Finley's done a great job with those guys. One, getting them on the same page, and honestly taking them to a place where I don't even think they thought that they could go. Especially whenever you think about the beginning of spring. I mean, there's some stuff that was like, okay, all right, that's going to be a challenge. And then by the end of spring, it was like, okay, these guys got it. That's awesome. And then in summer, the best thing about that room is that they're really, really smart. They're really intelligent. Okay, and so they don't forget anything you tell them. They remember how they messed up on something. They don't make the same mistake twice. I'm really excited about that group, especially going into fall camp, because that's one group where it's like, okay, hey, somebody go take it. Okay, y'all are all, I love them all as players, but somebody go take it. And there's gonna be a lot of competition between different team aspects, 7-on-7, pod work, that we're evaluating everything. So I'm really excited about them. And then Caden Helms, I wasn't here for all those injuries and everything, but you hear about it and everything. You kind of see kind of the toll it can have on the kid. I think he's been having a lot of fun just being able to play football and not have to worry about anything, right? He's healthy. He's looked great. And he's one of those kids that I say is really sharp, man. And so I'm excited to watch him go out there, compete, make plays all over the field, because he can do a little bit of everything out there. And I love that in the tight end position, a guy who can do a little bit of everything. And he's definitely one of them. So, I mean, he's been having a lot of fun with it, and I'm excited for him.
Last but not least, what would a practice report be without talking about the quarterback? And, Ben Arbuckle talked about John Mateer. He's talked about it, I think, every time that he's had a microphone in front of his face. Yeah. But maybe, and not to say necessarily it hasn't been overlooked. It came kind of with both of them hand in hand from Pullman, but they do have experience. And I think the question was what Ben Arbuckle was looking for to really kind of, I guess, build off what they've already done together. It's kind of, I think maybe that's one of the reasons that you feel a little bit more confident about this group, is that they have done this before, and maybe they are a little bit of ahead of where somebody would be if Ben Arbuckle was having to really kind of break in somebody that's new.
Well, and it sounds like that they've even put in some new stuff to what they were doing last year at Washington State. That's how far ahead they are, and now it's just about the guys around him, picking it up, understanding what they're asking them to do, getting on the same page with your receivers, with your offensive linemen, all of those things. And that's what fall camp's for. So you feel really good about that. But I thought, what Ben said too about just John embracing this team, becoming a leader, being the guy. I feel like we've seen that over the last, 7 months or so since John's gotten on campus. It's been really easy for him. And I know talking to him down in wherever it was, Louisiana, middle of nowhere, Louisiana, he talked a lot about spending time, because he doesn't have to spend time in the film room, right? Because he does, don't get me wrong, he's watching film, but he can spend less time there and more time with his teammates because he already knows the offense.
Sounds like we have a DJ in our ear. Here is Ben Arbuckle.
Biggest point of growth, I think, for John this summer, again, he was fortunate enough to be with me the last 2 years. And so schematically and everything, he's a lot where I want him to be. The things that we get to work with him now is NFL film study, right? Hey, you do this. Okay, I really like how this certain guy does this. Okay, let's watch him. Let's study him. And he is a diligent film studier. Okay, but the other thing that, he was kind of not necessarily challenged on, but something that, hey, you need to go make this team your own. You're the quarterback of this team. You need to go make this team your own. And just how he's interacted with everyone in the building, from players to coaches, and built the trust of everyone in the building by being accountable, by being relatable, by holding people accountable. You know, when we're out there at summer, if someone does something that's not up to our standard, like, he lets them know about it. And that was kind of his biggest point of growth, was just really kind of making this team his own. And he's done a great job with it.
You know, we've heard a number of the offensive guys talking about John Mateer. I thought it was interesting yesterday in talking to Dominic Williams and talking to Grayson Holt, and just how they've seen John Mateer kind of ingratiate himself. And it does. It does remind you a little bit, just a little bit, of the way that Baker did when he came in 2015.
Dylan Gabriel, I thought, did a good job of that. And I think it took Dylan a little bit longer, but I think he just has this personality that people gravitate towards him. And you hear the way that, you know, whether it's receivers or linemen talk about him, but like you said, the defensive guys, you know, Kobe McKenzie talked about him too extensively, just what he brings to the table as a player and a leader. And I don't want to say that Jackson Arnold wasn't a good leader for Oklahoma. I just think he was very inexperienced. John Mateer's led a football team, right? Like he's done it. Like, we talk all the time about what he's done on the field, but he was the leader of that Washington State football team. So he knows what it looks like. He knows what he's supposed to do. You know, he was a starting 4-year starter in high school at a major, 6A program, Little Elm High School. I mean, he's done this. So I think he knows what comes with being the quarterback at a school like Oklahoma. He's embraced that, and I think his teammates kind of have sensed that and have been feeding off of that.
Oklahoma underway for practice. Oh, this is the throw to Deion Burks today, huh?
You know, one thing about this throw, which great catch by Deion here, and I'm excited to see what he does this year. But if the clip starts back over here, you notice John Mateer's throwing without the laces. That's a pretty damn impressive throw without the laces.
They might have something. They might have something.
I will say the first reply on Twitter that, I tweeted about it, and the first reply was, "I wish you had a better throwing motion." I'm like, come on, man. Come on. But that's fall camp. Everybody's got a bitch about something.
All right, people. Let's calm down a little bit. For George Stoya, I'm Eddie Radosevich. As a reminder, we'll be out at practice on Friday. Yep. Got team notes already up from day one of camp. Go to the Crimson Corner. Good time to join SoonerScoop.com if you're so interested. Just for $1, that is 4 quarters. And we will be back here on Friday morning, wrapping up everything that was on the defensive side of the ball, which I thought was kind of interesting, because there are some questions to be asked, even though you feel like that's a really good, solid group. Replacing the leadership of Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman and Ethan Downs. We always talk about Billy and Danny, obviously. I think Ethan, and replacing what they have to do at the defensive end group, is going to be interesting. Maybe Taylor Wine will be that guy for Oklahoma. We will see you back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube